Hey, Mr. McLaren here. So I was talking with a number of students yesterday, and they were really confused with what they needed to do. Make sure you guys are reading these instructions here and checking that your graph has all this stuff. I'm giving that to you so that you can check that. Most people seem okay with this part. You gotta write 5 different motions in there. And then for the data table and the graph, people were getting a little confused. So for example, I'm just gonna give you like 3 motions and put them into a story and kind of show you what that would look like. Because I think a lot of people are getting this, but they're having a hard time making the graphs in a data table to make that graph. So let's say I walk forward. I can't type right now. And then here I'm gonna stop for 5 seconds. Let's say I'm walking forward 10 meters in, let's say, 6 seconds. And then here I walk backwards 2 meters in 3 seconds. So I've got like 3 segments here. You should do 5. I'm just kind of doing a shorter version here. So the first thing that you would want to do here is kind of think about the data table and what this is going to look like. I had expected people to kind of recognize like, oh, maybe I need to write in my x-axis label and my y-axis label here, but a lot of people were forgetting that and they weren't really sure what to put in here as well. So I'm just going to delete all this. So I am going to put time, and here I'm going to put the units that I'm using, which is seconds. You might use something a little bit different. And remember, this is what goes on the x-axis, so it goes in that first column. And then position is being determined by what time you're at, and that I said I was doing in meters. And so a lot of people were not really sure how to enter in data here. Like on paper, when we did this for the thing with like Hayden going on the field trip or camping trip or whatever, people seemed to be okay with that, but then here when it was digital they got all thrown off. So think about this. So we're starting at time 0, and in 10 seconds we get to 10, or 6 seconds we get to 10 meters. So at time 0 I am at position 0, right? And then here we've got, sorry, I just want to check that the audio is being recorded. Yeah, it is. Okay. So we got our time. We said it was at 6 seconds, and that would give me a position of 10 meters. So here we go. We've got 6 seconds, and we've got our 10 meters. But these also need to get fixed up because this title and these axes labels aren't going to work for me. We're going to have to fix it in just a minute. What if, let's see, we stopped for 5 seconds. So 6 seconds plus 5 more, that's 11 seconds. At 11 seconds, we're not at position 0, we're at position 10. I saw a lot of people putting 0 here. This isn't the change in position, this is where you are. So if you're staying at the same position, you need to have that same number, right? I mean, you could also do like at time 10, where are you? Well, you're at 8. Or at time 8 you're at position 10 still, and then position 11 we're still at 10. It doesn't really matter. You can do any, you could do like every single second and put the position there and that would work, but as long as you put the beginning and ending points for that movement, then you should be fine. Like I don't really need that in there. I could do 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 all have position 10, but there's not really any need. I said I was going to walk backwards 2 meters in 3 seconds. So 3 seconds later, that'd be 14 seconds. I've gone backwards 2 meters, so that's 2 meters less than where I was, so it should be at 8. So I've got first segment, lines up with the first little bit in my story. Stop for 5 seconds. I'm not moving. And then I went backwards for 2 seconds. This is a little bit tricky if you wanted to do accelerating or decelerating. So it's, you know, it's not going to be a straight line essentially. So you're going to have to kind of play around with that. So if I wanted to have this accelerate back home, like they were going at this constant velocity here, let's go ahead and just type that in. So it's in a negative direction for 3 seconds, and they get back to the starting position. Okay, so if I'm trying to do that, then maybe I know that at time 17, I'm gonna be back home. But now I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, I want this to kind of curve a little bit, so I don't want to have that slope quite as nice. So maybe at point 15, I'm just gonna play around with some numbers. Let's say I'm at 7. That's not quite where I want it, and it's also kind of weird because maybe we should move this down. I think that's what's throwing it off. We'll do like that, and then I mean that kind of looks almost good. I mean, they were going down and then they went down even faster, so it kind of was curved. It is looking a little bit messy though, so let's say if I want to smooth that out just a little bit, I could do like at time 16, maybe I'm at 0.6. That's a straight line. I want it to be a little bit faster, so maybe this would be at like 5.5 or something like that. So it's starting to curve somewhat there. So you guys see that it has a nice gradual curve to it until it gets to that returning point. Yeah, so that's the basic idea here. And then I do need to also fix up some things with this chart. This doesn't work for me. This is position of me walking in class. Because you really should in your title kind of tell you what the graph is about. I didn't really say it in the story. So for this, you can click here to change these. You can also see that underneath the customize menu, which if you double click on this, this comes up, or you can go to edit chart and it should pop up as well. So if I click on this, edit chart, it will give me these options. So if it comes up as the wrong type of graph, like if it was a bar graph, which we don't want, we can do something like this. So you can make it a line chart. Also change the axes titles. You go over here, we've changed the main title, but now we want to redo our horizontal and vertical axes. That's interesting. Actually, it looks like it updated to these guys. Well, if it doesn't update, you can type this in here and that would change it down there. So if I type in time just by itself, then it's time by itself, but we want that in seconds because we do want our units there so that we know what these distances are and we can compare the speeds, and we can check that and make sure it all makes sense. So yeah, that's the basic idea with this. You do also want your data table in here. So if I Control C, if I click here, then hold down Shift, click there, do Control C, and I go over to this document and I have to click on the slide and do Control V. It should let me paste. Linked or unlinked, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. And then you've got your data table here, which you should be able to resize. And then you can change like the font sizes and whatnot in here if you feel like it, to make it look all pretty. Let's see, with the graph, it's the same deal. You click on it, Control C, or you can go over here and you can go to copy chart and then go over here, and then you have to click on the slide and do Control V, and there you go. You got your graph, you got your data table, you got your story. Okay, got any other questions, let me know in class. I'll see you then.